In this video I'm going to show you how to crochet the mitre square. We start in one corner and we work our way up to the opposite diagonal corner. In this one I'm going to show you how to crochet into the back loops only, so you get this lovely ridged ribbed effect on your work. I'll also show you how to change colours and how to finish off your square. Hello, my name's Karen Stangram and welcome to Conquer Crochet, the channel for tips, tricks and techniques for conquering your crochet. Everything I talk about in today's video will be linked in the descriptions below. And if you're new here, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so you don't miss a single stitch. So if you're keen to get going with this video, give me a thumbs up and let's do this. So for this tutorial I'm going to be using Stylecraft arans. This is the Empire Blue and Saffron Yellow. I'm going to be using a 5mm crochet hook, which is the recommended hook size for this type of yarn. I have scissors to cut off my end, I have my needle for sewing in my ends, and I also have a stitch marker. I would suggest using a stitch marker in a contrasting colour so that you're going to be able to see it and you don't miss the stitch marker. If you don't have a stitch marker, you could use a paper clip, a safety pin, or even a contrasting coloured piece of yarn. So I'm going to start off by doing a slip knot, and you can do this in whichever way you prefer. And we're going to chain 2, 1, 2. We're going to make 3 double crochets, that's UK terminology, single crochet in US terminology, into the second chain from the hook. So we don't count the one on the hook, so 1, 2 is actually that first chain that we made. So we're going to do 3 double crochets in there. So I'm going to do 1 and then 2. In my second one I'm going to put my stitch marker so I can mark the middle of the stitch, and then I'm going to do the third one, and that is row 1 done. For row 2 we're going to chain 1 and we're going to turn our work. That chain 1 does not count as a stitch throughout the whole piece, so we're always going to be working into that first loop. So rows 2 through to 12 are exactly the same, and we're going to work into the back loops. So we're going to go into the back loop, so you can see where you have this V for your stitch. This is your front loop, this is your back loop, and we're just working into the back loop, and we're going to do a double crochet into the back loop there. I'm going to take out my stitch marker because I know I'm at my middle stitch, and I'm going to do 3 double crochets into the back loop of that stitch. I'm going to replace my stitch marker in the second one. So that's 1 and 2. Pop my stitch marker back in. Don't forget to do the third one. And then we do our final stitch there. So that's row 2. Row 3 we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. As I said before, the chain 1 does not count, so we're going to work into this stitch here again. We're going into the back loop only, so we're going to insert and make our double crochet, insert, make our double crochet. We come to our stitch marker stitch. I'm going to take the stitch marker out, going to do 3 double crochets into the back loop of that stitch, remembering to put my stitch marker back in the second one, not forgetting to do the third one, and then 1 double crochet in the remaining stitches. For our next row we chain 1 and we do exactly the same thing, working into the back loop, double crochet, double crochet, double crochet, all into the back loops of those stitches. We've come to our middle stitch, we take the stitch marker out, Working into the back loops again, we're going to do 3 double crochets, 1, 2, replacing our stitch marker in that second one, not forgetting to do the third one, and then working into the remaining stitches of that row into their back loops. And we do that all the way up until we have 12 rows. So work your way up to your 12 rows and join me back and I will show you what we need to do next. So I finished my row 12 here. I've left the stitch marker in because I'm going to carry on with my square. You may want to leave it at row 12 and you might want to join it up with lots of little blocks. You could have lots of little blocks of different colours or even the same colour and have them going in different directions. You can crochet into both parts of the loop, not just the back loops like we've done. But what I find with the back loop only one is you really get the emphasis of that stitch and the arrows that are going in that direction. So if you did want to have squares that were maybe all pointing towards the middle, it would really emphasize that if you're doing it into your back loops only. Now I'm going to change colour with mine. So either because you've run out of colour or because you just want to change colour. So I'm going to change mine and I'm going to add some yellow to mine, which I think would look nice with that blue. And the way I'm going to change colour on this one is I'm just going to wrap the yarn around. I haven't done my chain one yet, so I'm going to wrap the yarn around my hook and just pull it through, tighten up the blue, and then I'm going to do my chain one in my new colour. I'm going to turn my work and then I'm going to work into my back loops in exactly the same way, but I'm just going to go across a couple of back loops first. Oops. And then I'm going to stop and tie my ends, because the last thing I want are my ends coming untied and all my work unravelling. So those ends can be sewn away or weaved away later on. So I'm going to carry on working in my new colour all the way through my back loops, and we're going to do exactly the same as we have been doing. Back loop only double crochet, or back loop only single crochet if you're working in US stitches, and exactly the same when we get to that corner stitch, that we're going to take the stitch marker out, work 1 stitch, work 2 stitches, put your stitch marker back in, remembering to do the 3rd stitch, and then working back down the opposite side with our back loops only. So as I said, you can make this in any colours that you want to. You can change colours as often as you want to. You could stick to one colour and then do an Afghan blanket with lots of different squares all joined together. You can work into your back loops only. You can work into both loops only. Entirely up to you how you'd like your work to look. So I'm going to continue doing a few more rows and then I'm going to show you how we can finish this off. So I've come to the end of the piece that I want to do. I've made my blue, I've changed colour, and I've got some yellow on there. And I now have these 2 lovely finished edges and these 2 sort of raw edges, if you like. And what we're going to do is to just work some double crochets into each of those stitches going around the edge. So just to work them nice and evenly as you go around the edge. Now the number of stitches you want will depend on the number of stitches you've made, number of rows that you've made. but I'm going into, if you look closely, I'm not going into the bobbly row, I'm going into just underneath the row that's sticking out, and then going into the one next to it. Actually, I can take that stitch marker out, so I don't need that anymore. So I'm just going to work all the way down the one side. Now obviously if you've been doing this in the same colour, this colour will be exactly the same. Because I switched colours, I have the yellow going down. Now you could do a couple of stitches in yellow and swap to blue and finish this off in the same blue. Depends what sort of effect you're looking for. I would suggest that maybe doing it in whatever colour you're going to be joining your squares together with. So if you're going to use a blue to join your squares together, fasten off here, put blue on your hook, and then work these stitches in the blue. If you're going to do it in yellow, it's just one way of sort of hiding the way you're doing your stitching, where you're joining together. So we come to the corner space now, and we're going to do 3 double crochets in that corner space. So it's 1 for the side, 1 for the corner, and 1 for the new side. Now as you're doing this, if you want to, you can hide your tails away. I'm just going to work back up the other side again, doing regular stitches for each row. If you know how many rows you've done, then you'll be able to know how many stitches you need. But if you lost count of how many rows you're doing, I'm going into here and into here. So into the one, into the next one, and sort of missing out the bump, if you like, and going into the next bit. And then when you get to the last corner, you just want to do a slip stitch into that first stitch that you made. So insert yarn over, pull through the one on your hook, yarn over, pull through, and then you can fasten off your yarn. And there is your mitered corner. Obviously we've got some ends to weave away there. Looks equally good on the front and the back really. But this one is the front because that's the way we've been doing our stitches. So I would suggest, let me just zoom in a bit here. I would suggest actually blocking these, either wet blocking or steam blocking, because as invariably happens with squares is the sides tend to curve in. So you just need to pin that onto a blocking board, give it a spritz of water or a quick go with the steam iron, and Bob's your uncle, it's a lovely square. So that's how to do the mitre square. I really hope you found today's tutorial useful. If there are any information that you need to find out about this video, have a look in the descriptions below where I post all the links to any freebies and other videos I think you might find useful. Don't forget, if you have enjoyed this video, to give me a thumbs up below. Don't forget also to subscribe and hit the notification bell if you've enjoyed it and you'd like to see more of my tutorial videos. There are 2 other videos on screen to help you on your crochet journey, and I will see you over there. Thank you so much for joining me on this one, and happy hooking!